Alrighty, what an interestingly boring Thursday night football game. These are the classics, though. These are what we pretty much wait for every week. Of course, witness, and then pray that Sunday gets a lot better. But first and foremost, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Thursday night live stream. Again, this was a one-sided affair. This was the New England Patriots that I anticipated to see starting week one. The fact that they even stole a victory in week one, and then subsequently pushed the Seattle Seahawks to overtime in week two. Now we've come back down to reality. Hopefully, everything settles. Everything comes to balance in week three. That's what we're hoping for. We're hoping for our fantasy prospects who haven't played well in the first 2 weeks to find success in week three. And now that they've had all this experience, all this practice, they begin to show up. Guys like Michael Pittman Jr., Jamar Chase, Chris Olave, etc. Either way, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well after this very interesting Thursday night football game. For those of you who had, the Jets defense, or perhaps Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, fantastic. If you played anybody on the Patriots, obviously you unfortunately you fell victim to the fact that you started a Patriot member, and the Patriots have come back down to earth after their 2 week high. But either way, over the course of the next hour plus, we're going to be answering questions. If you guys do, in fact, send in a question, whether that is via Super Chat, whether that is the live chat, please be sure to include your scoring format, whether it is a half PPR scoring format or potentially full PPR standard. All-encompassing context does help me answer the question, and we continue on as such. Do not forget, tomorrow we will have our Hidden Gems episode. I'll also be live tomorrow night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday morning, like we are every single Sunday morning for the remainder of the season, 7 to 10 a.m. It'll only ever be an earlier live stream for Sundays when we get the Germany games, the Europe games that eventually we'll start to tack in, and those will be 4-hour streams. But either way, hope you guys are doing well. Let's get into answering some of these questions, shall we? There were a couple super chats that were sent in, so I want to go ahead and first and foremost address those. So let's go ahead, and I've kind of messed around with the YouTube chat for what I'm going to throw up on screen for a little while here. So let's just roll with this as of right now. So Adam Amar, first question says, pretended the Rams decide to tank? So hypothetically speaking, the Rams decide to tank, which they're not going to, but okay. What does it look like for Puka and Kyron? They still play and develop. Yeah, look, here's the thing. You got to remember, the Rams last season started, pretty sure they started like 3-5, 3-6 to begin the year. They still made the playoffs. So even if the Rams don't do anything for the next 3 weeks in terms of victories, they're not tanking. They know what they're capable of, and as soon as they get healthy, at that point they'd be a lot more comfortable rolling out with their studs and potentially stringing together victories, which they're obviously capable of doing. They've got a lot of talent once they're all healthy. So I'm not too worried about a tank, and even if it theoretically does happen, it requires a Matthew Stafford injury, and even then, we have seen it in the past. Without Matthew Stafford in the lineup back in 2022, there were still viable fantasy options. Jimmy Garoppolo will get in there and he'll do some damage and help our fantasy teams at least. Abide Los Angeles says, hey Andrew, should I trade away White for Ayuk? Yeah, I mean, again, if you can survive the running back depth loss of Rachaad White and bring in Ayuk, again, Kittle just popped up on the injury report with a hamstring. We know that Deebo Samuel's dealing with a calf injury. Of course, Christian McCaffrey's on the injury reserve. It looks like Brandon Ayuk, the guy that wasn't there all of training camp, is quite literally the only healthy player because he has stayed out of training camp and doesn't have the physical toll on his body as it currently stands. So yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Again, that's very much so dependent though that you can survive the loss of a running back and you have enough compensation, more like you have enough depth to survive giving away Rachaad White. All right, let's see here. Donald Smith in live chat says, tank, question mark, do the season what does that say? I don't even know what that means. Do the season just started? Okay, Donald. Hey, listen, if Tank Dell's going to play well with this week and that's what you're referring to, then hell yeah, let's do it. Let's see here. Y'all think Cooper is finally going to have a good game? I mean, look, hopefully everything is going to come to balance. Again, hopefully the players that have not played well, which are high talented players, again, some of the best receivers, running backs in the league who haven't had consistent production, the assumption is that eventually they're going to get touches and they're eventually going to find themselves success. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So hopefully week 3 will be that when and kind of give us a little bit more hope for the remainder of the season in regards to a lot of these other players. Let's hear Mo Many sent in a question. Thank you, Mo. Mo says, in a PPR trade, okay, we're trading away Mason, Waddle, and Montgomery for Connor, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Pickens. Yeah, why not? That's a huge upgrade. I mean, the fact that you're going from the fact that you're able to use Mason as like a huge piece in this form in order to get Connor as like that. Well, I guess, okay, let's say you evaluate this and Connor and Montgomery are equals. Amon-Ra is so far ahead of Waddle, and Mason, again, after a while, is going to run out of value. So it's just it's a massive win in the favor of this Connor, Amon-Ra, St. Brown pick inside of the deal. Full PPR start one: Demarcus Robinson, Zamir White, Thielen, Quentin Johnston. Not too interested in starting Quentin Johnston, especially with Herbert dealing with his injury. I think Demarcus Robinson's like one big play, and if we get it, we're in the bonus. Outside of that, it's either between Zamir White or Thielen. Zamir White's got a really good. I'd probably play Zamir White if it was me. I have a very hard time thinking that with all of this taken into account, like the fact that the Carolina Panthers quite literally cannot stop the run, they've really done nothing to adjust their defense, and they're still going to give up a huge, volume of yardage on the ground. Zamir White is the catalyst for that. I mean, Alexander Mattison could certainly come in and take some workload here and there, but ultimately it is Zamir White's job to be able to carry the running game, and he certainly will. G really needs to do more. You're not wrong. I mean, really, he just needs more opportunity. That's really it. A lot of those targets that he's getting, I mean, if Aaron Rodgers was sharp, like really sharp, there really wouldn't be a question. Like Garrett Wilson would have the ball in the right spot every single time, and there'd just be a lot of success going in his direction, because it's not like he's running routes incorrectly, or it's not like he's making horrible mistakes. It's like just need to give it a little bit more time to build that rapport. I heard an interview earlier today from Kirk Cousins, and he was talking about that Monday night game and how, because of the Achilles injury all off season, he's been wearing like a red jersey at practice. No one can touch him. And because of that, he didn't really feel how tight the pocket was going to be and how limited his movements were going to be. Like he hadn't felt it in a while. And against Pittsburgh, he's like, all right, now that I've felt like the live action of bullets coming at me, like per se TJ Watt coming at him, then he's like, all right, after that week, I'm starting to get used to it again. It's like, all right, well, if it takes a couple weeks, it takes a couple weeks. Andrew, how do I even get excited about this week after Ramondre gave me 0? Yeah, I mean, how do you get excited about this week? You don't. You can't. Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It fucking sucks. It's awful, but it is what it is. You just have to keep moving on. Here's the thing. If Ramondre is going to go for 0, just wait till the next guy goes for 0. There's a possibility that the team that you play against this week in fantasy, quite literally every single one of their players does not accompany their performance with a touchdown. It's possible. So you just have to hold out hope that somebody else on your team is able to carry the workload that he obviously didn't provide. There's a reason, like last week, Alvin Kamara putting up 48 plus fantasy points. If somebody does that on your team, he carries your week and it's over. So really, you just got to give hope for the rest of your team to carry. And if they don't, it's one bad week. It's not a big deal. We got a lot more getting to the NFL play or to the fantasy football playoffs. All right, let's scroll back up here. We had a question from James Rowe who says, I traded Kyron and Evans for Pollard and Chase. Yeah, that's fine by me. That's fine. I have no issue with that. The matter of did you win? Winning in a specific trade of this caliber is something that we will eventually see. It's just a matter of purely like, okay, we know what Kyron's capable of. Same thing with Evans, same thing with Chase. Pollard is the unknown commodity that, yes, has played very well thus far. If he continues to sustain his excellence, then of course you're going to be on the positive side of this overall transaction. So time will tell. But otherwise, I'm happy with it. I would have done the same thing. I really like the prospect of Chase going forward here. I did see a question that says, thoughts on Akers this week? If he plays, then he's probably going to be a top 24 back in my mind. Again, they want to run the ball there. They've demonstrated that last season, even with Devin Singletary, they want to run the ball. So if Cam Akers comes in and they give him 20 rushing attempts, don't be surprised. Now, of course, when you're taking on the Minnesota Vikings defense, it will be a little bit more difficult to accomplish something of that extent. But again, they're going to give him the opportunity to run away with a lot of potential touches there. So if he's available in your league, you have Mixon for per se, pick him up and potentially throw him in there. All right, let's see here. Scrolling down. Trade away Hill for Rice. Trade away Tyreek Hill for Rice. I don't think I'm doing that. No, thank you. D. Finney says, hey, Andrew, what are your thoughts on the waiver wire pickup? What are your thoughts on this waiver wire pickup? PPR, I have Jay Williams, which again, Jay Williams could be Javonte or Jameson. So as my fourth back. Okay, very well. The context has led to it being Javonte Williams. Okay, I have ETN Bigsby on the waiver. Drop Javonte Williams for Bigsby? No. No. Listen, why would I drop a starting running back for a team for a backup who I don't expect to get a lot of touches? Now, you may expect him to get a lot of touches, and if that's going to be the case and you have a belief system in that, go for it. I mean, 2 thumbs up. Let's hope for the best. But yeah, in this situation, I'd much rather just keep the running back that is a starter that's coming off of a week in which he had 11 rushing attempts, 5 receptions, 16 touches. Really can't supplement that for someone off of the waivers unless they're going to find immediate success and score touchdowns and also get themselves just as much receiving utilization as Javonte Williams. Let's see here. There was a super chat sent in, so let me go ahead and let me find that. There it is. Skills all day. Is that it? I believe so, yeah. Scrolling back down. Skills all day. Thank you very much. This is in a half PPR. Okay, star 3 out of Jameson Williams, JSN, Ridley, Pittman, Moore, Waddle, Bowers. I have McBride. Thoughts on doubling tight ends? I'm going to suggest that probably here. In your scenario, Jameson Williams has to play as one of these options. I'd probably feel pretty comfortable starting Bowers, especially against Carolina. So it'd probably go JMO, Bowers. I'm not too... Okay, so this is the way that I would put it. I'm probably going JMO, Bowers, and JSN. I would consider potentially rolling with Pittman or Moore. But at this point, is the bounce back week going to happen for them? Nah, we'll just roll with these 3. This triangle, JMO, JSN, and Bowers. I could justify playing Moore or Pittman, but I mean, I kind of just want to wait and see it before I jump back into it. All right, let's see here. Rowett says, hey, Andrew, JMO over Waddle in a PPR? JMO over Waddle in a PPR. Yeah, let's do that. Also, do you like Moss going forward? Not really. Honestly, again, Moss has not played well. In terms of efficiency, I mean, look, I will admit it is very difficult to run behind that Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. Joe Mixon, who's an extremely talented back, did not find consistent success in doing so throughout his years. So that offensive line, especially down on the goal line, is not going to treat him well. Even just this last week, Zach Moss had a goal line attempt. Immediately, not even a half a second after that ball is snapped, there was a guy in the backfield making contact with Zach Moss. And then the next play was, of course, a Joe Burrow passing touchdown. We've seen that year over year for Joe Mixon. He has suffered from that. So Zach Moss, if he's going to be the goal line back, great. But that offensive line is very suspect. Additionally, Chase Brown is in the wings and could eventually take the spot. So for this week, great. For future weeks, TBD. ETN or Devontae Smith as my flex in a standard league. If you're playing in a standard 0 point per reception format and we're just working off of yardage alone, and the upside of a potential touchdown, I'm probably in the business of playing ETN in this circumstance here. All right, let's see here. We had another chat question sent in. Why didn't that work? There it is. Diego sends in a question. Thank you, Diego. Diego says in a full PPR, pick 1. Tank, Shaheed, BTJ, Akers. Tank Dell, Rashid Shaheed probably gets to start there. When you're playing against the Eagles, I mean, really at this point, going forward, I think I'm starting almost not every wide receiver against the Eagles, but the number 1s and 2s of that respective team are probably going to be fired up. So in this circumstance, Olave, Shaheed are going to be fired up. So yeah, Shaheed in the full PPR would be my suggestion in this circumstance. Also, what do you make of the Jets running back situation? Reminds me of Peyton-led Saints. Yeah, I mean, look, they have a 2-headed monster. It's pretty simple. Obviously, both of them are certainly capable of getting themselves receiving utilization. We're just hoping that it doesn't dig into the workload of Breece Hall to where it impacts him negatively. But we're also more than happy to have any other running back relevant in fantasy that we didn't anticipate. So if we're going to see, Braylon Allen continue to get himself 50-plus rushing yards a game, 2 or 3 receptions with the potential of breaking out a touchdown because, again, he is a physical runner, but he also has the ability to make breakaway speed. I mean, I'm happy for it. I'll take it any which way. The issue with Braylon Allen is, like, if you're desperate enough to where you have to start him right now, like as it currently stands, it's because you're dealing with a lot of injuries, and I can understand the play. But outside of that, I don't know if I'm putting him in my top. He'd be in that like fringe 35 to 40 range because he certainly is getting enough yardage and he has touchdown upside, but it's very similar to like, hey, Zeke's getting yardage. He has touchdown upside, but who's more likely to score a touchdown? The RB1 goal line back of a team or the RB2 of an opposite team? And both their offenses are great. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the conversation then kind of spirals into his value and can he continue to succeed with the opportunities he's given, which again, it looks like, I mean, especially off of this game, they gave him a lot. Mainly because, again, when you look at that Patriots, I mean, let me actually bring this down really quick. Just looking at the Patriots drives as a whole, when I look at these stats, like the possessions for the Patriots, okay? Their first drive led to a punt, 1 yard total gain. The second drive, 11 yards, 16 yards, 12 yards, 6 yards, 35, 4, 8, 46. So, again, not the greatest potential. A lot of the drives for the Patriots today, 3 and outs. So it obviously lent to the fact that this was a early lead from the Jets and running the ball. If they get into a situation where, like, the New York Jets are taking on the Buffalo Bills and they're having to play from behind, we'll have to wait and see what kind of usage that Braylon Allen gets, within those kind of scenarios. I guess it's just a matter of testing it and seeing how, time leans us. I want to answer a couple of these here. Let's see here. Reno B in the chat says, Andrew, JSN versus the Dolphins defense or Drake London versus the Chiefs defense? This is a fantastic question. And you said half PPR. Reno, that is a fantastic question. The reason why I believe that is such a fantastic question is because earlier today, as of the YouTubes, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Andrew posted a video. Yes, that's me. In terms of week 3 wide receiver rankings. So if you haven't checked it out, this is the thumbnail. And go check it out. But to answer your question between those two, I'm probably leaning in the direction of playing Drake London. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked out the video, wide receiver rankings, boom, click the like button. I appreciate it. All right. Let's see here. Nathan Salazar sends in a super chat. Nathan, thank you. Says in a full PPR, Olave or Flowers? I mean, as of this week, I have them ranked back to back. So it's kind of like dealer's choice. Like, kind of what do you want to see out there in your lineup? If it's me, I'm probably going to roll with Olave because I really love the matchup. But Flowers has been really consistent with double-digit targets each of the last 2 weeks. So if you just want to roll with Flowers, I don't mind it. I mean, again, let me check my rankings. In a full PPR format, I have Flowers. Yeah, they're literally right back to back, but Olave has the slight edge. As for your second question, it says, did I make a mistake playing Garrett Wilson tonight when I could have played both of them? I guess you were kind of bailed out. Let me see here. Let me go to one of my leagues. How many points did Garrett Wilson have? I didn't even check. I don't really care either. He had 14 points. Okay. I mean, look, it's not the greatest game, but we'll take it, right? I mean, it's better than Ramondre Stevenson. Sorry. If you guys said Ramondre, I apologize in advance, but that's just funny. It sucks, but it is hilarious. He got 0 points. Okay, anyway. I don't know if it's an objective mistake. He still scored, which is great. But yes, if it was me, I would have preferred to play Olave and Flowers. I have them ranked higher than Garrett Wilson in the given week. But I don't know if it's an objective mistake per se. I think hopefully it just pans out for you this week and you're good to go and capture victory there. Edward Spray sends in a question. Thank you, Edward. I appreciate it. Says, thoughts on Vele? I mean, he was injured last week, so that's really why he didn't, get any sort of waiver wire love this week. But again, if he continues to play in the vast majority of their 11 personnel sets, which they're going to play a lot of, I mean, again, in week 1, had himself, 8 receptions? So in a full PPR format could certainly be of value if he continues to be one of, Bo Nick's favorite options. So theoretically, could be a value, kind of a to-be-determined situation, though, in his circumstance. They're really not going to run a lot of 12 personnel, and they're really going to be throwing the ball 70+% of the time going forward. So as of right now, could be a value. But I'm not starting him as like a top 50 wide receiver just yet. I have to see a little bit more consistency. As for your follow-up question, Edward Spray says, where is Terry? Where has Terry gone? Name scary ? I don't even know what that means. But you're asking me, where's Terry McLaurin gone? Which is pretty much what I've deciphered from that question. To answer your question, he has gone to the realm of having a rookie quarterback. The same place that DJ Moore has gone. The same place that, who else? The same place that Cortland Sutton has gone. They have gone from being exciting, relevant wide receivers to being at the mercy of a rookie quarterback that in a couple weeks, that rookie quarterback thing is going to shed off here and hopefully we'll find more success. Infinity and Bijan sends in a super chat. Thank you, Infinity. It's bad. Let's see. What does it say? Gus Edwards. Okay, it's bad. Gus Edwards, Akers, or Mostert in a full PPR. Yeah, listen, if Mixon's out, which is kind of trending in the direction of, then Akers is your start, full and away. If, in fact, he isn't out and Mixon does, in fact, play, then you would just play Mostert in this situation. Thank you. Z Hands sends in a question. Says, do you prefer Thielen over Deontay Johnson this week? Yes, slightly. I do. They're literally back to back in my rankings though. They are kind of in that same lower end wide receiver 3 situation to where they're going to get opportunity because Andy Dalton is actually going to be able to have timing and rhythm, and even if he doesn't have a great offensive line, get the ball out of his hands properly. So either way, one of those two guys is going to be relevant. Let's see here. Pablo sends in a question. Thank you, Pablo. Pablo says, thoughts on Tampa Bay defense this week? If I'm not mistaken, based on my Patreon rankings right now, I have them ranked as my number 4 defense. They're ranked behind Cleveland, San Francisco, and the New York Jets. So Tampa Bay in that conversation, especially, I mentioned it on Tuesday's waiver wire video. If I'm not mistaken, the Denver Broncos have allowed over 10 fantasy points in each of the last 2 games to opposing defenses for fantasy. So I'm firing up Tampa Bay. I've picked them up in all of my leagues. Typically, what I like to do is I like to just hit the waivers in order to try to pick up defenses, try to play them weekly. And considering there are great options in trying to play your respective defense against Carolina, play them against potentially the New England Patriots if you have an opportunity, or the Denver Broncos, which is the 3 that we're going to target henceforth. Anytime you have a chance to pick up a defense and play it against Denver, we should try to do that. So yeah, let's fire them up. Also, flex advice, Scary Terry, Quentin Johnston, or Singletary. Between those 3 options, I'm probably going to play Terry McLaurin there. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it. Space Bjorn in the chat says, does Jordan Whittington have fantasy potential? I picked him up in my main league. So if that gives you any sort of confidence to do so in your own, great. Am I playing him this week? No. But I do want to see what he's made of. I do want to go ahead and pick him up before, there's a potential. Because look, here's the thing. They play against the 49ers. They're going to have to throw for majority of that game. If the 49ers show up and don't show out, it's because of all the injuries. And it could be a closer game, and there may be an opportunity in which Kyrie Williams plays far better than we anticipate because of that. Again, the offensive line is going to still be the primary issue for his overall potential for success, but I don't mind it. Again, I've picked him up. I'm not starting him, but I'm tentative to just see what he's capable of. If he doesn't do anything against the 49ers, no worries. No harm, no foul. It's just a waiver wire pickup that you stash on your bench, and if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, keep it moving. All right, Jonathan Price sends in a question. Thank you, Jonathan. Greatly appreciate it. Jonathan says, in a half PPR, I have Hurts, running back Mason, Kyron, wide receivers Chase, Rice, Waddle, Kelsey. Very well. My bench, I have Kupp, McLaurin, BTJ, Coleman, Brooks, Hunt. Okay, I gave up Monty, Pickens, Fields for Kupp and McLaurin. Okay. That's fine. Listen, you don't need Fields. You have Jalen Hurts. You're good to go. You're bringing in the value of Kupp and McLaurin. You lose a little bit of running back and wide receiver depth, but hopefully Pickens and McLaurin could be of relevant value to one another in terms of as we progress in the future. So it's just a matter of pivoting Monty to Kupp, and considering you have Mason and Kyron, my only concern here is, do you have Christian McCaffrey? If you don't have Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Price, my suggestion henceforth would be to try to trade Mason going forward, because again, you've got a bunch of great wide receivers and a great tight end, but in the absence of Christian McCaffrey, you are on a ticking time bomb, and you just lost running back depth that you probably would have wanted to have after Mason pretty much goes away and McCaffrey takes over this offense. So going forward, you probably need to try to address your RB2 behind Kyron by moving Mason to the Christian McCaffrey owner and taking whatever running back depth they can give you. If they don't want to give you running back depth, then maybe trade for, try to get McCaffrey off of them. If that is not something within the cards, then just try to take a wide receiver off them and then flip a wide receiver for a running back in the future. Thank you, Jonathan. Greatly appreciate it. We had a question that came in from Chris Owens. Chris, thank you. Says, would it be a good idea if I started the Cowboys defense again? Okay, again this week after their disastrous allowing 44 points last week? No, you're not going to play the Cowboys defense this week. I don't even have them ranked in my top 12. Just to give you a little bit of context as to my top 12 defenses this week. Browns, 49ers, Jets, Buccaneers, Seahawks, Bills, Texans, Raiders, Bears, Packers, Steelers, Chargers. That's what I'd prefer to play. If you don't have if you have to literally drop the Cowboys defense in order to, get another defense, I'd justify it, because I don't think anybody's picking them up to play them this week in your league. But you obviously want to have the Dallas Cowboys defense on your roster for next week because they play against the Giants. So looking forward, obviously we want to try to ensure that. But in terms of this week, I'm not playing them again. I'd try to find another way out of that. Thank you for the question, Chris. All right, let's see here. Lenny V23 sends in a question and says, my team is Kyler, what does this say? Henry as in Derrick Henry, got it. Kenneth Walker, Drake London, Deebo Samuel, Amon-Ra, Jake Ferguson, David Montgomery. Okay, pretty solid team across the board. Tyler Algier, Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, Jennings, Shaheed. Okay, should I trade any of these while I can? Yeah, I mean, listen, if I'm in your position, the trade window for Rashid Shaheed is now. He could maintain value going forward, but again, catching a 60-yard plus touchdown every single week is very unsustainable. That is pretty much the Xavier Worthy proposition. Like, if he does it, we're great. If he does it, if he doesn't score a touchdown, we're effing screwed. So in this scenario, yes, try to sell high on Shaheed. Subsequently, wait for Deontay and Adam Thielen to potentially have signs of life this week, then try to flip them in the following week. You could hold on everybody, but yeah, that's what we're looking for. Additionally, as a Kenneth Walker manager, I'd try to go knock on the door to see if you can get Sharps, but outside of that, there's really nothing else that I'm trying to move. Like, Kyler's great, Derrick Henry's great, Drake London's fine. Debo's going to deal with an injury, but selling him at this moment is probably not in your best interest. Keep Amon-Ra. Jake Ferguson could end up playing this week. David Montgomery's played well. So yeah, it's just a matter of Shaheed. Can you get potentially top dollar for him? Like, can you get Shaheed and Ferguson and go move him for a tight end and bring somebody back that we would potentially want more than Ferguson the rest of the season? Thank you. Ramiz sends in a question. Says, in a 12-team full PPR, Josh Allen, Marvin Harrison Jr., Diggs, Bijan, Pollard, McBride, Shakir, Thomas Jr., Deontay Johnson, Chase Brown, Benson, Cooks, Bigsby. Any advice? Okay, look, across the board, Marvin Harrison's great. Josh Allen's great. Bijan, Pollard are fantastic. McBride is great. So then it's just a matter of like the inconsistency of Diggs as your wide receiver too. But again, as of right now, we're okay. We'll see what kind of consistency he has for the next couple weeks here before we consider him to be inconsistent to an extent. Obviously, his average depth of target is not down the field, so his yardage is not going to be able to represent somebody that is high-valued wide receiver too. But in instances in which we may have opportunities to get him in a great matchup, specifically like this week against Byron Murphy, their slot cornerback, not great. So if we can get him into advantageous matchups, there's no issue here. But outside of that, like, your bench depth isn't really depth per se. It's like Chase Brown and Benson are lottery tickets. Bigsby's a lottery ticket. Cooks has one good week. Shakir hasn't really done much. BTJ is kind of that guy that you can throw in your flex. And Deontay Johnson hasn't done anything. So you're just kind of waiting. There's nothing to move here. Unless, of course, somebody desperately wants Diggs and they're going to give you a better player for him, which I doubt at this point. So you kind of have to just wait. Let this team put together a couple good performances, then try to move them accordingly afterwards. Otherwise, pretty strong core of Allen, Harrison, Bijan, Pollard, and McBride. Thank you, Ramiz. Nathan Ray sends in a question, says, I traded Ford for Pickens. Beautiful. Good or bad? No, that's great. Again, you got to remember, Nick Chubb is coming back. And as it currently stands, Jerome Ford is under siege from the Deontay Foreman attempts. So as long as Deontay Foreman is an active part of this offense, which he's certainly going to be, especially considering Pierre Strong last week got injured, it's just going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge running back by committee situation in which sometimes it'll go one way, sometimes it'll go the other. Like, I guess it's the coaching staff that figures that out, or the running back coach. But yeah, I'd rather have Pickens rest of the season. I'm good with that. It says rest of the question is in the live chat. Okay, let me see if I can go find your question, Nathan. Nathan says, Pittman, Pierce, Worthy, McLaurin, Pickens, start three. Yeah, if I'm starting three of these players, it's probably Pittman, Pickens, and Worthy. That's probably the three that I would roll with. If you're worried about Worthy's potential, then you just go with Pittman, Pickens, and McLaurin and just start your studs. I mean, studs is relative to the time period of the last 5 years, rather than just like the 3 weeks, right? I'll take the 5 years of experience that I've witnessed great play from these players rather than the last 2 weeks of potentially atrocious outputs. Sergio sends in a question. Thank you, Sergio. Sergio says, risk starting Tyreek Hill. Should I sub in Zay Flowers? I'm okay with the Zay Flowers play. I don't have an issue with that. If you want to wait a week, see what comes of it, see if Tyreek Hill's worth it, and then henceforth kind of evaluate your lineup going forward, I don't have an issue with that. I got Zay Flowers really closely ranked. He's played incredibly well thus far this season. Gets himself a lot of opportunity. I don't think that's a terrible swap at all. I'm okay with that. No issue. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it. We move on to a question that comes in from Old Greg. Greg, thank you. 12-team full PPR. Start 8. Start at 2-0 currently. Do I trade DK Metcalf for ETN? My running backs are Christian McCaffrey, Mason, David Montgomery, and Braylon Allen. My wide receivers consist of Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jaden Reed, and BTJ. Okay, so when you say start 8, that's probably either 3 wide receivers or 2 flex. So in that kind of a circumstance, if it's a full PPR format, I could justify keeping DK, but if it's my team, I probably want to have ETN. I probably want to just pair. Yeah, if it's my team, I'd rather just have the ETN going forward here. I have no issue with it at all. If you want to keep DK, I can justify it in a keep 8 or in a start 8. The only time in a start 8, which I'd justify playing DK is if it's 3 starting wide receivers and 1 flex rather than 2 wide receivers and 2 flex. In a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex format, you're in a better position to accommodate for ETN. But otherwise, I'm still fine with the ETN move. If it's me, I would have taken it. Joel Garcia sends it a question, or Garza, excuse me, sends it a question. Says, drop Jerome Ford for Javonte Williams or Adam Thielen in a full PPR. I don't know if I'm going that far as of yet. If it is me, though, yes, I'll take Javonte Williams. I'm not jumping onto the Adam Thielen train per se. Again, if you're going to drop running back depth, you probably want to recuperate some of that potential opportunity to get another running back. So for Javonte, yeah, I'd be willing to make that move. I don't have an issue with that at all. Thank you, Joel. Jordan McQueen sends in a question. Thank you, Jordan. Javonte Williams or Pickens in a PPR. This week, I'm probably gonna roll with Pickens there in a PPR format. Thank you. Z-Han sends in a question. Says, thoughts on Thielen over DeMarcus Robinson this week? I have no issue with that. No problem at all. DeMarcus Robinson has the upside of a huge play leading to his success, but ultimately, it could very easily go to shit real quick. That offense could fall apart. They could go down 30 points, and it can look a lot like last week where nobody's doing anything, and they're just trying to get out of the game themselves. So, I wouldn't be mad at all with the potential swap there. If anything, listen, tomorrow's video for Hidden Gems, you can bet your bottom dollar Adam Thielen's the first fucking name that I'm going to mention, guys. I'm all in on the Adam Thielen train. The guy was a monster for fantasy last year. It's not like anything's happened for that to change. The only thing that happened late last year, which kind of faded out Adam Thielen, was as soon as we ended up seeing the head coach or the former head coach of the Carolina Panthers get fired, the one that started the season last year, Frank Reich. As soon as he got fired, then it started to kind of get a little bit tricky because then the offense started to fall apart week in, week out. And then it kind of got into a position to where he stopped getting opportunities from Bryce Young. Like Bryce Young forgot he was on the field or something. So ultimately, let's play Thielen. No problem with that at all. Drew Soul sends in a question. Drew says, Hurts or Burrow? Custom League, I get bonus points for longer touchdowns. Mind you, I also have Chase, who I could double up. Look, okay, so I have Burrow relatively high ranked in comparison to where he's been in the last couple weeks. So Burrow this week is my number 5 quarterback behind Kyler, Lamar, and then Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen are always going to be S-tier quarterbacks because of that rushing touchdown upside. That provided upside is so valuable, it is hard to just even argue with the potential of benching them. Now, I could evidently see, because I do anticipate Jamar Chase to be the number 1 wide receiver in the week, and I probably expect like the sheer volume of kind of projected outcome I could really see Jamar scoring. I wouldn't be surprised if Jamar scored without Higgins in the lineup. I wouldn't be surprised if he scored 35 fantasy points this week in a full PPR. Like someone quote that. Okay, when it happens, don't at me. When it doesn't happen, don't at me. I'm just throwing it out there. I wouldn't be surprised. And if it's a couple of deep balls, great. But I don't know how this league functions in terms of the bonus points you're getting. Quite frankly, I don't want to rely upon that. I'd just rather play the better quarterback in terms of fantasy purposes, which would be Hurts in this circumstance. Thank you. Okay, let me see here. I want to make sure I didn't miss any of the super chats that came in. So let me go ahead and make a couple changes here. Let's go to supers. Okay, cool. So after Z-Hands, okay, so we had Trayvon Jones sends in a question. Thank you, Trayvon. He says, would you trade Barkley for Ridley and ETN? No, I wouldn't. I'd much rather have Barkley. If you were trading for... Okay, so Ridley's the piece in this scenario that I don't love. And the reason why I don't love him is because I think Ridley has a potential that for the remainder of the season, they could swap out of, Levis and start rolling out Mason Rudolph. And I don't want to have my wide receiver associated with Mason Rudolph right now. So that kind of sketches me out. I think Barkley, rest of the season, I have him as a top 3 running back. So it would require a lot more than what you are being offered to get to have to give away Barkley in this circumstance. So yeah, I'd keep what you have. Leftover sends in a question. Says in a 10-team full PPR league, I traded away Jackson Smith and Jigba and Gibbs for Lamb. Okay, very well. I have no issue with that. My team consists of Mayfield, Cook, Henry, Chase, J-Mo, Moore, Kincaid. Okay, cool. Yeah, listen, I have no issue with this. You have the running back depth to be able to accommodate for this, and you're bringing in one of the top players in fantasy. And I think it's a great trade overall. Again, you have Chase and Lamb on the same team. So, yeah, I think the 10-team format really did kind of usher in this deal because you had the depth to be able to accommodate for it, and somebody obviously wants Gibbs that badly that they're willing to give away Lamb. So, yeah, sounds good. I think that's a great trade on your half. Thank you. In terms of am I all set? Waivers, I'll have, what does it say? It says Kincaid is on the bench. Is Steele, Charbonnet, Odunze, and Coleman when waivers run? I'll have Kelsey. Look, of the available options here, like I don't mind picking up Charbonnet and potentially starting him as a flex option. I mean, like you're going to start Cook and actually I might start Charbonnet ahead of Cook this week. J-Mo, you're starting Chase, J-Mo, and Lamb. Yeah, look, technically, I guess all of these waiver wire options you have available, left over, none of them really hold a candle to what you have on roster. If you want to build depth with them, you can, but otherwise you don't have to. I think you're pretty set. X Hassan sends in a question. It says, full PPR. Start 1, McLaurin, JSN, Sutton, Shakir, or Pirine. Yeah, out of the group in a full PPR, I will take Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. Thank you. Eddie sends in a question. Says, PPR, trade Tyreek Hill, Zach Charbonnet for Chase and Pollard. Tyreek Hill and Zach Charbonnet for Chase and Pollard. Yeah, I'll take Chase and Pollard 10 times out of 10. I have no issue with that. The value proposition here is really just a matter of like, you are giving away Charbonnet, who effectively does not have value maybe after this week. And yes, is a handcuff, but individually is not a startable option. So you've gone ahead and upgraded from that to Pollard, who henceforth is probably going to be a top 16 running back in fantasy. And then the only downgrade you get, quote unquote, is going from Tyreek Hill to Jamar Chase, which quite frankly, without Tua, and there's not really a 100% word on whether or not Tua is going to play. Now, even though he has over, what's his contract look like for the remainder? It's like 50 a year for 4 years. So he's got 200 million reasons to come back and play football. But in this circumstance, yeah, I'll take the Chase and Pollard side 100% of the time there. No issue at all. Fantastic. Beautiful. Okay, we move on to a question that came in from Quinn, who says, trade Pittman and Amari for Debo and Judy. Thoughts? Okay, so Pittman and Amari are going to play better, but you're cashing in on the potential of Debo, but he's hurt. I'm okay with it. Like, do I love it? No. Because I really do think that Michael Pittman Jr. and Amari Cooper are certainly both capable of being top 25 wide receivers. While on the other end of this overall conversation, I don't know if Judy's going to be able to keep this sustained. He's never kept this sustained in his career. So personally, I'd probably rather keep the Pittman Amari side and just let it pan out and see how it kind of goes this week. But if you're just sick and tired of it, and you just want out, it's not a bad option to get out of it in terms of grabbing Debo there. But understand, again, when you invest in Debo, there's about 2 or 3, maybe 4 weeks that he's going to miss in a given year. So just understand that. Like, preemptively know that when you're buying in on Debo, he's going to miss weeks. Nathan Ray says, how much Brooks stock we buying? Thoughts? It depends. I mean, here's the thing, right? Jonathan Brooks is a talented running back. Great. Beautiful. Fantastic. We know that already. The head coach of the team is Dave Canales, is very much so non-committal on the players that were here before his arrival. So he is going to favor anybody that he has already brought into the organization, a la Jonathan Brooks. He used high draft capital to bring him in. Jonathan Brooks is going to be a value. He is going to be somewhat relevant. The relevancy is pretty much based on whether or not this Carolina Panthers offense provides anything for us, though. So if Andy Dalton can elevate this offense to being consistent scorers, to be in games so where you can at least run the ball in the second half, if they're going to be in situations of that kind of sort, Jonathan Brooks, yeah, I have no problem buying in on it. How much am I buying? I'm not full in. Like, obviously, I drafted him in a couple of my leagues, but not to the extent to where I'm telling you to go grab him in every single league as of this current moment in time. Because, again, you may get him on your roster. It's going to take another 4 weeks after IR for him to feel 100% himself. You get to week 9, and then by that time, maybe he finds relevance. But by that time, they may be getting blown out 50-0 every week, and it's a complete shit show, and you can't even start him. Mickey sends in a question, says, what's up, Drew? PPR flex, Javonte, Hopkins. Okay, we're not playing Hopkins. Demarcus Robinson, Pirine. Yeah, out of the group in a full PPR, I think I'm probably either playing Javonte or Pirine. If Kareem Hunt does in fact get activated this week, then obviously Pirine's a non-option. But as right now, just to be safe, we'll just kind of lean towards Javonte. Earlier today, we did see a report from the running backs coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. He did say Kareem Hunt still got it. We just have to get him up to speed, which is pretty much just like getting him understanding the playbook and pretty much understanding that he's got to be in better potential physical shape. He's quite literally coming off of the couch. So in this scenario, I'm leaning towards Javonte. I can justify Pirine. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on Kareem Hunt and whether or not he does in fact play this week. Sean sends in a question, says, "Hey Andrew, hope all is well." It is, thank you. Obviously, listen. I don't have very many shares of Ramondre, but for those of you guys who are suffering, it hurts me. It hurts me that happened. That's the worst part of today thus far. Outside of that, so far so good. In a 12-team half PPR league, do I flex Mooney, Charbonnet, or Eckler? Yeah, under the assumption that Kenneth Walker's out, Charbonnet is an immediate start in this scenario, no questions asked. If in fact Kenneth Walker does miraculously recover and play by Sunday, at that point you would play Eckler. Thank you. Frank Lynn sends in a question, says, in a 12-team full PPR, trade Breece Hall and Christian Kirk for Kamara and Evans. Yeah, I'll take that. No issue at all with all. Great. I'll take Kamara and Evans. Thank you. Moving on, after Franklin's question, we have Justin, who sends in a question, says, in a 12-team half PPR, 2-flex league, Singletary or Dell rest of the season? Thank you. I would say Singletary has a possibility of continuing to maintain his top 30 running back standing. I think that's very much so capable. So it's just a matter of do you want to take the gamba of Tank Dell and roll with it? If you're willing to, go for it. The stability the stability, quote unquote, is attached to Singletary because of the high volume of touches that he's going to get for the remainder of the season, assuming he stays healthy, of course. But yeah, if it's me and you're just I need a solid flex that I can run for the rest of the season and have no concern, it's probably Singletary, because otherwise Dell, even when he finds good weeks, we're going to have up and downs, and that's just going to be a pain in the ass. Mason Davis says, London and Kamara for Barkley and Olave. Yeah, I would happily take the Barkley Olave part of this deal. No issues with that. Fantastic. Beautiful. Thank you, Mason. All right, let's see here. Ando in the live chat says, rest of season, 6-point per passing touchdown, Jaden Daniels or Jared Goff? 6-point per passing touchdown rest of season, I'd probably rather have Jaden Daniels. He'll get better over time. Again, the only reason this last week he had a lackluster performance per se was mainly because they scored field goals the entire game. They didn't score a single offensive touchdown, but additionally, they were up for a lot of that game. It was a competitive enough game to where it wasn't garbage time. Just wait till you see what happens this week against Cincinnati. When there's garbage time, that is when the real Jaden Daniels is going to come out and he'll find far more value. We anticipate far more garbage time performances that are going to give him the opportunity to run, get all those late touchdowns, and really find himself fantasy success in that regard. It's not a matter of talent. It's just a matter of purely the circumstance of him being in a negative game script for majority of the upcoming season, and that leading to his potential for success. Rogo sends in a question, says, what's up, broski? Rate my roster in a half PPR. What does it say? ST? What the heck is ST? You mean SF, like Superflex? Maybe. Let's see here. Or is it standard half PPR? Either way. Let's see here. CJ Stroud, Diggs, Shaheed, Gibbs, Montgomery, Kincaid, Mason, Moody. Okay, very well. What does your bench look like? Chase Brown, Higgins, Debo, Mostert. What do you see the next steps moving forward? Future plans? I'm perplexed. No, I'm not perplexed. When I look at this team, my biggest concern is the fact that you have Mason and you don't have, again, I say it every day. If you have Mason and you don't have Christian McCaffrey, you are making a physical error in not attempting to either trade for McCaffrey or trade away Mason for additional value. Because again, unless maybe you have the belief that McCaffrey's going to return and get hurt again, which is always in the realm of possibility. We saw it back in 2020. Same issue. Calf strain, went to the IR. Matt Rule sent him. He came back, got injured again, literally the first game, went back to the IR, season ender. Boom, done. So there's always a possibility of that. But honestly, you should be trying to cash in on Mason. Try to get another running back if you can. If not a running back, a solid wide receiver that could really bring back value, because starting Diggs and Shaheed every week scares the crap out of me. especially going forward once the touchdowns don't start to hit every single week. But again, you do have Higgins and Debo who are going to eventually come in and take over. So really, it's just a matter of moving Mason and getting back running back depth if possible. Go to the McCaffrey manager, see what he has available, and try to cash in on that. Because there's no reason a McCaffrey manager shouldn't want to have Mason, because they need to ensure their rest of season after he comes back. All right, let's hear. Gerardo sends in a question. Says, I have Kelsey in a dynasty league. Trade him for Bowers? Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's no question. In a dynasty format, again, we got to remember, Kelsey could retire at any moment. Dude's pretty much done right now, right? He's 35 years old. He's played a legendary career. His gold jacket is waiting for him. He's won multiple Super Bowls. You want Bowers? Yes, abso-freaking-lutely. Because again, think about it this way. The Raiders aren't going to have Minshew for the next 10 years. Now, it's possible. He could pull a Baker Mayfield here, but ultimately, it's more likely that they get another quarterback and improve upon their scenario, and it only elevates Bowers going forward. Flotation Swag says, can you check Twitter? Yeah, I think my phone is almost dead, though. That's the only issue. My phone is currently at 24% battery. You found yourself a lucky situation here, Flotation. All right, let's see. Where art thou, Twitter post? What does it say? Wish I have A-Rod. Let's see. What is your... Okay, so I'm looking at your team. You have Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Etienne, Eckler, very well. Adams, Cooper, Lockett, Laporta, Singletary, 49ers defense. Rodgers sat on your bench with 28 fantasy points, but honestly, here's the thing. You could end up flipping Rodgers after this week. There might be somebody out there that's crazy enough to try to trade for him. Looking at the rest of your available options here in terms of potential starts, I'm not interested in starting Freiermuth. I'd consider starting Josh Reynolds, but quite frankly, I prefer what you have in your lineup with Singletary. And yeah, you're good to go. I mean, the questionable tag of Lockett kind of is the question, figuring out whether or not we're going to be in a situation where he does play. If in fact he doesn't, then you start Reynolds in his sake. What is your question? Says, I'm on the left, PPR, need the whole team analysis, start Reynolds instead of Lockett or Coop. Let me know what you think. Yeah, look, I'd probably start him over Lockett. Let me look at my rankings really quickly just so we're on the same page. So if I look at my PPR rankings for wide receiver as it currently stands, I have Josh Reynolds at there and I have Lockett there. Yeah, I have Josh Reynolds starting over Lockett based on my rankings as it currently stands. Everything else would stay status quo. Nothing else would change. As for the analysis for the team, the lack of an RB2 is so destructive to this team that it sucks. Maybe you're probably in a position where you find yourself selling Laporta after he has a monster week here. Sell him and maybe Eckler and go get a lesser tight end and an upgraded running back. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. But other than that, I know you play in a Superflex league, so it's obviously you're going to have, thinner positional value across the board. And really the biggest importance is that quarterback, which again, you filled in pretty well there. Maybe you can move Aaron Rodgers and find some sort of extra running back depth additionally too. All right, let's see here. Easy E says, any suggestions? I'm 1-1. Easy E, is there a message that was supposed to be attached to that and there wasn't? Here we go. Any suggestions? 1-1, Superflex, 3 wide receiver league. Quarterbacks are Murray and Daniels. Very well. So we got to move one of them. That's suggestion number 1. Wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb, Godwin, Neighbors, okay, and Cup, and BTJ, and Dell. Very well. Josh Jacobs, Walker, Charbonnet, Montgomery, Hare. Beautiful. Okay, look, the only thing you need to do is quite literally move Jaden Daniels off this team and potentially go in and cash in on a potential tight end. You have Kincaid. I mean, technically, you could take Kincaid and Daniels, go to a team that has a better tight end than you, and maybe doesn't have a great quarterback, and make a flip there. Ultimately, that's all I'd look for. Otherwise, you theoretically could end up trading. I mean, honestly, I want Kupp to come back. You can keep Neighbors until then. You could end up grabbing like Daniels and Montgomery and going and try to flip for a better running back as well. Go get Jonathan Taylor. But again, it's very much so dependent on who needs a quarterback in your league and who, quite frankly, is interested in Jaden Daniels. Otherwise, that is your biggest trade piece. Like, it's Daniels with a rotation of other players surrounding him in order to go get an upgrade at one of those positions. So you would attach a running back to him, try to go get a better running back. Attach a wide receiver to him, try to get a better wide receiver. Same thing with tight end. Thank you. Daniel Cap sends in a question. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Says, got offered DK Metcalf, Jonathan Taylor, or Rice. Wait. Got offered DK Metcalf, Jonathan Taylor, Rice, or Marvin Harrison Jr. for Achane St. Brown. So someone's willing to give you DK Metcalf, Jonathan Taylor, and Rashee Rice, or Marvin Harrison, whichever the one of the two that you prefer, for Achane and St. Brown. Yeah, I'll take it. Give me the JT. Give me the Marvin Harrison. or Rice. I mean, really, between the two of them, if it's a full PPR, just give me JT, Rice, and DK and let me go. That's fine by me. I have no issue with that at all. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it, Daniel. Hank Hennig sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, drop DeAndre Hopkins? Yes. For Deontay Johnson? Yes. Both are having slow starts. Yep. I like Deontay coming into the... Yeah. Deontay Johnson will be better with Andy Dalton. Make the swap there, Hank. Thank you. M. Suna says, or Masuna, half PPR, Adams, Laporta, Godwin for Amon-Ra, Kelsey. Nope. I'd keep what you have. I'd rather have Adams, Laporta, Godwin over Amon-Ra, Tank, and Kelsey. Just keep what you have currently. M. Suna, you're good to go. Noah Billhorn says, in a full PPR, do I trade Najee Harris and Palmer for Tank Dell? I mean, look, Palmer is irrelevant in terms of value, right? He's been dealing with an injury. He is relevant. You can swap him. You could really just, he's a bag of peanuts at this point. So the question is, would I rather trade Tank Dell and Najee Harris 1-for-1? If you have the running back depth to be able to sustain losing Najee Harris, again, I know he hasn't played up to a higher level, but again, he's getting 17 or 20 rushing attempts those first two games. So the opportunity share is going to be there for the remainder of the season. Once he starts scoring touchdowns and this offense is significantly better in terms of their upcoming matchups, he will be far more fantasy relevant, in my opinion. So if you can afford to lose a running back and you have high hopes for Tank Dell, go for it. Otherwise, I'd probably just hold on to Najee and I drop Palmer and go pick up somebody off waivers. Jordan sends in a question, says, love all the videos, Andrew. Just accepted a trade for Kincaid and Michael Pittman Jr. I gave away Waddle and Swift. I had Fergie, as in Jake Ferguson. What's your opinion on Kincaid? My opinion on Kincaid is he is a very talented player, like really talented player. The issue is they don't need him to produce every week in order to win. That is the issue with the Buffalo Bills. They have found a way to win games without the necessity of specific players balling out. They have weapons across the board that, yes, they may not be the best at their given positions, but they get the job done. So based on that, trading for Kincaid and Pittman, giving away Waddle, Swift as of right now, bag of peanuts type energy in terms of hasn't done anything, may not do anything, may fall into a running back by committee situation. Last week got a rushing touchdown stolen from him from Khalil Herbert. Very worrisome. Waddle, Pittman. I mean, again, if Waddle without Tua is going to be a disaster and Pittman starts to trend in the right direction, this could be a great trade in your circumstance. But again, we just got to hope that Josh Allen needs him to get the ball rather than, oh, he's open. Let me just get, you know what I mean? Like it's that's the issue. They don't need him to dominate for them to win games. Connor sends in a question. Thank you, Connor. Connor says, offered Chase/Brooks for Smitty Kyron. Okay, so when you say offered, did someone offer you Chase and Brooks for Smitty Kyron? Because if it's me, I'd rather have the Smitty Kyron spot regardless. I don't know which side you're on, but that's the side that I'd rather have rest of the season. Give me Kyron and Smitty. Thank you. Damian sends in a question, says, Geno Barkley, Jacobs, St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, New York Jets defense, McBride, J.K. Dobbins, Addison in the flex potentially. Okay. You have a super flex as well. Understood. Is that SPR is super maybe? I would have assumed that you would have SUPR, but anyway. Hunt, Charbonnet, Brian Thomas Jr., Thielen, Bills defense, rate my roster. Look, as it currently stands, right? Geno's not great, but he's been playing great. So going forward, hopefully he stays healthy. That's really where he fell off last year. Once Geno got injured, and I think it was like that elbow injury, and then it became an ankle injury. Then it just kind of completely fell off. Hopefully Geno sustains his value. Barkley, Jacobs, St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, McBride, Jets defense, J.K. Dobbins. Beautiful across the board, no issues, not moving anything, leaving it as such. Addison, when healthy, will be fine. Hunt, once he takes over this backfield, will be great for you. Charbonnet is an insurance piece that you don't need, but again, you can benefit from for the next couple weeks. Brian Thomas Jr. will find himself, so will Thielen. Ultimately, Geno's the only thing that I'm worried about, so maybe go pick up another quarterback off of waivers, or you could even grab J.K. Dobbins and go and try to flip him and just try to go get after a quarterback. You could, but I don't think you should. Leave it for right now. Thank you. JB says, full PPR start DK or Zay Flowers this week. I'll take Zay Flowers there. Thank you. Nate Will says, in a full PPR, I'm 2-0. I have quarterback Richardson, running back Achane, Moss, and Connor. Jonathan Brooks as well in the IR. Wide receivers are Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, and Mike Evans. Jameson Williams, very well. Deontay Johnson, Kyle Pitts is my tight end. Any trade ideas? I mean, quite frankly, I don't think you need to move. Like Connor, Achane, Richardson's beautiful. Your wide receivers are even better than that with Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, Jamison Williams. Kyle Pitts will find himself finding more consistency. Just give it time. No one is taking Mike Evans or Moss. No one's taking Mike Evans because they're dumb. I mean, like, it's just purely, that's a given, right? Like, don't even worry about it. You don't have to move these pieces. Like, I know you might want to move Zach Moss. I can understand that. But ultimately, you're pretty solid across the board. The only thing that I want to ensure is that you have Trey Benson on roster. Because if you have Connor, you have to ensure that you recoup the value in case of an injury. Connor's never played a full healthy season. Just want to have the insurance policy bought on him in case. Outside of that, you have a really solid roster across the board. There's nothing really you have to do. Sure, maybe you can trade away Richardson, but when they get into better game scripts and they're in a more dominant leading role, he'll be far more valuable for fantasy purposes, and I think that'll be demonstrated this week against Chicago. Octavio sends in a question. Says, tips on my team. I have Allen, Marvin Harrison, Neighbors. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and do something real quick. I have to actually scroll down a little bit. Okay, cool. Allen, Marvin Harrison, Neighbors, Breece Hall, Gibbs, Gesicki, DJ Moore, benches Waddle, Warren, Javonte Brooks, Irving, Demarcus Robinson. What do I do for, what to trade for Braylon? Okay, so if you need to trade for Braylon Allen just to have the insurance policy there, you're probably in the business of trying to trade Javonte for him, I guess, because otherwise I'm not trading anything else. Like, everything else is too valuable to give up for him, theoretically. Otherwise, Allen, Marvin Harrison, Neighbors, Breece Hall, Gibbs, do not move. DJ Moore, for right now, again, you can't really sell him unless you want to get pennies on the dollar. So you keep him as is. Gesicki's going to kind of roll with you until otherwise noted. Waddle's kind of an option that you could end up breaking off, but ultimately I do expect to see Tua return, so you want to keep him unless you're going to flip him for a decent wide receiver option instead. Again, I think it's a pretty solid team. It's just a matter of, like, what you're trading for Braylon Allen is just probably it's literally just Javonte. I'm not giving Jonathan Brooks for that. I'd rather keep that. I'm not giving DJ Moore. I'm not giving Waddle. You can give away Warren, but Warren's going to have to put together a performance here to entice someone to make the move. Mike Doe sends in a question, says, hey, in a 12-team full PPR, got Mahomes, Henry, Moss, Reek, Devontae, Laporta, Worthy. My bench consists of Gus, Quentin Johnston, Justice Hill, Caleb Williams. What does I say? Sutton, Parkinson, Kirk, Mostert. Any suggestions? As it currently stands, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, RB1 are beautiful. Moss at RB2 I don't love, but theoretically, based on what you have on your bench, you really don't have a pivoting option. You'd have to wait until either... you're pretty much like kind of claim to upside, Mike Doe, is you need Quentin Johnston to actually be somebody legit, or you need Christian Kirk to wake up, or potentially an injury to take place to some of these other options to where Gus Edwards has viability. So you're just waiting for Sutton, Kirk, or Quentin Johnston to have value, and then once that happens, perhaps grabbing him and Zach Moss and upgrading RB2. But as of right now, if you were to move pieces, it would be pretty destructive unless you're going to move Tyreek Hill and somehow just people have done it. People have said it. I'm moving Tyreek Hill. I'm getting Jamar Chase. You can do that. Shoot, more power to you. Let's see here. Ron Skov says, drop Ford for Moss? Yeah, I'd absolutely drop Ford for Zach Moss. Do I trade Kyren Williams? No, you don't have to trade Kyren Williams. If you get a running back that you believe to be better than Kyren Williams rest of season, then you would make the move, right? Like, if I could get Josh Jacobs for him right now, I would. If I could get Jonathan Taylor for him right now, I would. But the issue is, typically you're not going to have those kind of offers available. People will more likely try to give you Rashad White rather than the upside players that we typically want, which again, at that point, we're just better off holding. Daniel Barnes says, I have Achane, Montgomery, Mason, Jonathan Brooks. Do I drop Jalen Wright for Braylon Allen? Abso-fucking-lutely, yes. For sure. Without a doubt. I understand that you want to have the handcuff to Achane, but really the handcuff to Achane identifiably has been Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr., based on the first couple weeks of the season. Okay, how long have we been here for? Probably an hour, yeah. So I'll probably answer a couple more questions for the next 10 minutes, and then I'm going to bow out. Again, typically, what I've wanted to do is have like hour to hour and a half long streams. The last couple streams have been 2 hours a pop consistently, which I want to kind of cut down on. I need to get more hours of sleep. That's purely what it is. if I'm going to continue to stream every day for the remainder of the season, that's got to come first. So you don't need to know that, but I'm just giving you some understanding as to what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes once Andrew says peace and I cue the music. But until then, answering questions. I see many of them. Kings of Kings has spanned for 10,000 years. Kings of Kings. If I answer your question, one of two things happens. I either basically say that your actions of spamming is okay, or theoretically, or you'll stop spamming after I tell you, please, listen, in the future, don't spam. Typically, when I see somebody spamming, I ignore the question. But in your case, I will do you this solid, and I will answer this question. But in the future, please, no spamming. He says the following question, and I'm not promoting the behavior. If somebody spams in the future, like I thought about banning Kings of Kings. Legitimately, I had the finger on it. For a second there, I was like, I need to scroll down for a second, if anybody heard that. I was going to ban him. But anyway, I'm going to answer this. This is a heated warning to all. Please don't spam. What do I start at my flex? Joe Mixon or Waddle? If Mixon is out this week, do I play Cam Akers? Pierce is back. Yeah, Pierce probably not going to play either. In your scenario, you play Mixon. If he doesn't play, you play Akers. Pretty simple across the board. Thank you. DJ Moore or Cooper, says JC. I play DJ Moore there. Super Dave says, Drake London seems like an empty the clip type of ad in a 14-team league. Seems like an empty the clip type of ad. I'm so confused as to what that means. Because empty the clip typically is waiver fab. So I don't know what we're talking about Drake London for in that scenario. Kamikaze says Seattle or Buffalo defense. As it currently stands, Kamikaze, I have Seattle's defense 5 and Buffalo's defense 6. Thank you. LDZ says, hey Andrew, I traded Kincaid and Charbonnet for Xavier Worthy and J.K. Dobbins and Dallas Goedert. Full PPR, what do you think? Perfectly fine with it. No issue at all. Let's just hope that Goddard figures it out. That's all it is. But then again, Kincaid hasn't figured it out either. Let's see here. Mike in the chat says, Dak or Jaden Daniels rest of season? I have Anthony only in a 6-point per passing touchdown league would I rather have Dak. Otherwise, in a 4-point, I'd rather just have Jaden Daniels rest of season here. Bacon sends in a super chat, says, should I drop Shakir for Adam Thielen? Personally, I'd probably keep Shakir. I just like the offense more and the potential for upside there. Space Pure says, goat stream. Get some sleep, brother. Thank you. Alan says, pick 2 in a full PPR. DeAndre Swift, Zach Charbonnet, Akers, Deontay Johnson. Again, Alan, if we are in a situation in which Kenneth Walker doesn't play, Charbonnet plays. If we're in a situation in which Mixon doesn't play, Akers plays. If both of those options do not exist because Kenneth Walker and Mixon play, you're playing Swift and Deontay Johnson as your backups. Thank you. Alfredo in the chat says, which running back can I get in return for Puka? Technically, Puka's been on injured reserve for 2 weeks now. Or by the end of this week will be his second week. So then he'll have an eligibility to come back in potentially week 6. The running backs that I would like to get, I mean, look, it just depends on who wants to buy in on him. Like, I want to try to get a running back of the caliber of ETN. I want to try to get Rachaad White at very least, but am I selling low on him in this circumstance? I'd say yes. So you have to just kind of sit in the pocket and try to trade up and try to see if somebody's going to give you that ETN or someone's going to try to sell you a running back of the caliber of like a David Montgomery or a James Conner. Otherwise, you just don't move. What does it say? Brian Robinson for Olave? Yeah, I'll take Olave rest of the season, assuming it's a full PPR there, Sahil. I'll be left only with Bijan and ETN. That's fine. As long as you have... Okay, look, here's the thing. Being left with only Bijan and ETN is only a disaster when the bye weeks roll around. If you have Tyler Algier and Tank Bigsby, you have their handcuffs, you can survive it. But I don't mind it. Again, if it's a full PPR, I make the move. If you are worried about it and you don't have Tyler Algier, you don't have Tank Bigsby, then you just have to keep it and just keep it rolling. Combat Central says, okay, so he took care of that. Blake says, started the Jets defense tonight. Huge W. Yeah, for sure. Good way to start the week. Dave says, that's my question about Drake London, LOL. I'm so confused. Someone dropped Drake London in a 14-team league. How much fab should I burn? I got $88 left. I understand, Dave. So he was answering your question. Got it. Now the context makes sense. Dave, he is in fact a drop, empty the clip kind of player. If I was in your position, Dave, I would spend all $88 for Drake London. And I would literally never hit the waivers for the remainder of the season. Thank you. Crixie says, I'm 0-2 as a Christian McCaffrey owner and barely have been losing. Should I trade him or what? I mean, look, if you're barely losing and I mean, you're only 2 weeks away from his return potentially here. I think he returns probably against Seattle at best. But you can hold on to him. If you have Mason, then you're fine. If you don't have Mason, then you're trying to trade for Mason or give him to the Mason owner and try to recoup some value in that scenario. All right, let's see here. Sweet Tooth says, should I start Tony Pollard or Zach Charbonnet in the flex? I have them ranked back-to-back. For right now, let's just stay with Tony Pollard. If by the time we get to Sunday morning's rankings and it swaps, then I'll just throw in Charbonnet. D. Brayu says, in a 14-team league, I'm pretty sure he means to blow it all. Yes, he does. Empty the clip. Use all 88 remaining fab. Austin says, start Juwan Jennings over Brian Thomas Jr., Amari Cooper, full PPR. Probably not. I like Juwan Jennings, but in the past, okay, if Kittle is out, I'd say yes. But in the past, in the absence of Deebo Samuel, because he has been absent a lot, Juwan Jennings typically doesn't play like super well, even without Deebo in the lineup. Gerardo has a follow-up, says, I have Andrew in a redraft league. Should I look to move on or trade and pick up another tight end? I don't think you have to. If you want to, obviously you're trying to get Laporta or Kelsey while they're, obviously not performing well, and then you kind of swap it accordingly. Thank you. Appreciate that, Bang. Lou says, drop Chase Brown for Akers in a PPR redraft. Again, under the assumption that you're going to potentially be missing out on Mixon this week, or you need to start Akers, even if you don't have Mixon and he can flex for you this week, then sure. What's up, bro? Zeke, Pirine, Mostert as my RB2 this week. If it's a full PPR, it's probably Pirine. If it's not, I'd probably just pivot to playing Zeke. Can Baker Mayfield be trusted rest of the season? Yes, he proved it last year. AJ says, pick up Hunt or Bucky Irving off the waivers. Also, okay, so first and foremost, Bucky Irving's only picked up if you have Rashad White. Otherwise, Hunt has to be picked up already. Also, Najee, Steele, or Deontay. Flex 2 in a PP. How much roster... Hold on, wait. I'm actually curious. What is the... I'm on my sleeper league right here. If I go to players, what is the rostership percentage of Kareem Hunt? Why do so many people... Like, I don't get it. Let's see here. He's rostered in 44% of sleeper leagues. Got it. Okay, that's still not enough. Future, if I go to, let's say, for example, Yahoo, and I see Kareem Hunt, he's currently rostered in 35%. Yeah, just not enough across the board. I don't get it. But, yes, pick him up, keep him moving, unless you have Rashad White and you want to have his kind of handcuff ready. Also, what does it say? The follow-up question there was, also, Najee, Steele, or Deontay Johnson in the flex, full PPR. I'd probably roll with Deontay this week. Lethal Jake sends in a question. Thank you, Lethal. 3 wide receivers, PPR. Who do I like more rest of the season, Jaden Reed or Brian Robinson Jr.? In a 3 wide receiver league, if it's a full PPR, and Jordan Love is healthy, not just this week. I mean, again, there's a possibility that he does return this week, but if in fact he is available next week, I'd rather have Jaden Reed. Michael Lopez says PPR, London, Addison, McConkey, Shaheed. Pick one or few. Two? Few two? What is that? Or few two? London plays number 1. Shaheed plays number 2. Addison's not going to play this week, so it's go London, Shaheed, McConkey in that order. Carr or Baker Mayfield? I have Baker Mayfield ranked higher this week. Shannon Yoon says full PPR. Okay, what does it say? Aaron Jones versus Texans or Zamir White versus Panthers? Aaron Jones also dealing with an injury. I could probably justify playing Zamir White there. I don't have an issue with that. So does he just randomly choose who he reads? Yes, that's exactly correct. I just jump back and forth. There's no order to this. There's no method to the madness. It is just purely madness when I'm live streaming. Thank you. How do I convince the Jamar Chase owner to sell him? You can't. Unless they really want to, you can't convince them. Well, the only way you can actually legitimately convince them is if you give them an offer they cannot refuse. So that would be the only thing. Thank you. Taking care of that. Okay, so again, how many, was that 10 minutes? Yeah, 10 minutes elapsed. Okay, guys, I appreciate y'all. I'll be back tomorrow night for another live stream. Once again, Saturday afternoon. So tomorrow night, probably around 7 p.m., I'll be live. Saturday afternoon, 1 to 3 p.m. PST, all of it PST. Sunday morning, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, live streaming every day for the remainder of the season. Appreciate y'all. Much love. Couple more questions, because I do see many of you in here. How many people are actually in here, though? 300? Fuck. Okay. Couple more questions. Couple more. Rapid fire. I'm not going to read them out loud. I'm just going to say your name and I'm going to say the answer. Here we go. Feeney J. We are starting JSN and Diggs. Thank you. Jeez, okay, that's a long-winded question. I'm coming back to that one later. If T. Higgins is fine, no. If T. Higgins plays, I'm still not playing him over Kyron. Kyron takes the start there. He has priority. I'm not dropping Tank Dell for Jerry Jeudy. Would you trade James Cook for Luka? Yes, I would be willing to do that. I'll take likely in a full PPR, Lethal Jake. Raider 305 says Ford. If Higgins plays, he takes the start. If he does not play, your options are Ford and Najee this week. Yes, that's fine, Hassan. I don't have an issue starting both DK and JSN this week. What's a good trade for Achane? Oh my gosh, Lord almighty. If you're going to trade Achane, you have to get back top 8 running backs. Period. So go to the preseason rankings and look at everyone that was ranked next to him. Those are the guys you want. Outside of that, not interested. Drop Shakir for Books. Yes, AJ, do that. Marvin Harrison and Ford for Chase. Yeah, I'll take Chase there. VMS. If you can do that, that's incredible. Strange on Monday. Yeah, that's not a bad idea as a tight end. Akers or Foreman. If Mixon is out, I'll take Akers. Drop likely for Jeudy. If you have a tight end already set in place, you can. And you need wide receiver depth. Trade Andrews and likely for Kelsey. Yes. Can Baker be trusted the rest of the season? Yes. Dana says, drop Jaden Reed for Chris Olave. My other 2 benched wide receivers are BTJ and Worthy. Did I mess up? Dropped Jaden Reed for Chris Olave. Okay, hold on. Wait. Okay, wait. Daniel Budquist. Okay, really quickly. This will be one of the final questions. You dropped Jaden Reed for Chris Olave. So that means that Chris Olave was on the waivers. So with that information that now I have available to me, I need you to turn around and go take BTJ and Worthy and drop both of them. Or sorry, you would go take Worthy and you go drop, probably BTJ. Go take BTJ and drop him back for Jaden Reed and pick him back up. Thank you. Drew King sends in a super chat, says trade likely and White for Ayuk and ETN. Abso-fucking-lutely, yes. Yeah, that'd be beautiful. If you could do that, it's great. Kelsey or Bowers? I could justify playing Bowers this week, but I have a pretty strong feeling about Kelsey's bounce back performance here. Should I try to upgrade likely or hold? Yes, you should try to upgrade him for sure. Olave on the waivers? Yeah, that's crazy. I swapped them. He meant that he swapped them. But what does he mean? Because he said dropped. He didn't say swap, right? That's the context that I have. John Silva says in a full PPR, this is the final question. Flex, Kyler, Okay, those are your teams. What's the question here? Advice on who to upgrade as wide receiver 2. Very well. So as this current position, you have DJ Moore and Thielen as your starting wide receivers as it currently stands. That is tough. Because you have Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Montgomery, Jonathan Taylor, and Dobbins on your bench, you are doing yourself a disservice by not trading away one of those running backs. Alvin Kamara, Henry. Like if I'm in your position, I take Alvin Kamara, I go trade him for a top tier wide receiver. I'm going and knocking on Lamb's door, Jamar Chase door, Amon-Ra St. Brown door. I'm doing all 3 of those. If that's not available, you're taking Derrick Henry and you're literally going and trying to swap him with, I don't know, at very base minimum. Like, well, you don't even need Derrick Henry to use that. You could just take Dobbins and try to go get Devontae Adams. Like, there's so many opportunities here, John Silva. You just got to go knocking on doors. All right, guys, that's it. That's what I'm going to call it. I appreciate y'all. Much love. I'll be back tomorrow with the Hidden Gems video and, of course, live stream. Until then, have a great rest of your night. Good night, guys. Peace.